about putting the money into all the gear, whether I ride the bike or throw in the trailer and pull it behind me. The track, yeah, track days, because that's one thing I see on NER a lot, that, you know, trying to get people to get more training, especially those of us that have just ridden our whole lives. I mean, I didn't even know track days existed until last year.
Right.
And I'd like to do it, but you know, how many times are they going to do it? How much, I don't know, how many thousands of dollars do I have to invest, you know, to get a back thing and the proper boots and et cetera, et cetera. It'd be nice for me to hear somebody, I don't know, even if it took 5 or 10 minutes, to walk through what their experience is going to a track day and how you do it, and including equipment and what the, you know, what the process is.
Sure. I'm going to actually throw this to Sue, because she's been more in your shoes. I've been doing this for 25 years. So I'm going to hand this over to Sue. Go for it, Sue.
So it was a couple of years ago, I did my first non-Sportbike day, track day. So it's just a regular motorcycle. There were people there with cruiser bikes. There were people there with kind of sporty bikes, but really no high performance sport bikes at all. I was on a BMW GS. I took the cases off, but it's the same bike I rode every other day. I had the same gear that I use any other days, same boots, same pants, same jacket. I had a modular helmet. A lot of track days don't do modulars, but Tony does that. They have to fit well and they have to work. But as long as your bike is safe and your equipment is safe, you're good to go at Tony's track day. The first experience for me was that the roads are much wider, that you don't have to worry about a white line and a yellow line and staying on your side of the right side of the road. You've got the whole thing. It's all yours. And if something gets a little out of hand, there's grass. And following that, on the way home, I was a little shocked at how the roads were really scary, because there's sand on the road and there's people coming and there's guardrails and things. And I'd been riding all day on a track, and it was nothing like that. It was just wide open space, some of the best curvy roads you could ever imagine. And so you ask about cost. Your equipment cost shouldn't be any more than you do on the road. But the track day itself, you can get the price from Tony's website.
Okay. Make sure that you're signed up for Tony's track days mailing list, and you'll get the information as we get it.
Just one other thing to add is that there are so many great training courses that you can do that all really directly improve your riding skills. I did, for example, American Super Camp is a great flat track school where you're riding 125s on a small scale, and it's not meant for people who want to steel boot flat track race, but you're really exploring the limits of dirt and fun, and you learn a ton from that. And then of course I love the slow speed training where it's parking lot, where Ken has a course for that. I'm trying to think of other, there's some great off-road days as well where you don't need anything. They'll provide you the gear, the back protection, the guards, everything you need, and the bike. And you have to shop around, and sometimes they do involve travel, but I think a little bit of all the different kinds of education are great because it keeps building on your encyclopedia of knowledge to pull from in different situations.
Yeah, I agree completely. Of course, I'm a little biased, but there's more and more and more to learn. I keep learning. I went to the Colin Edwards boot camp that was flat track, and I learned a ton. So there's always more to learn, and it is applicable to any type of riding you do, including your street riding. So Dave, I wanted to answer your question just a little bit more about the cost of things. Now, the hotel aside, because we talked a bit about that. There are costs, sure. The cost of track days, the first one, but like Sue said, your gear, if you're not riding in proper full gear already, that would mean that you have no more additional cost for that. Then that would be another conversation to have. One of the things that we have, particularly with the New England riders, when they say, like, I give away, or Tony and I give away a non-sport bike track day or two for the New England riders at their holiday party. And so somebody will win the thing, and then they'll say, well, I don't have any gear. Can I wear my chaps? And it's like, well, no, And then so what it ends up being is that these people start to then go, okay, I guess I better buy some riding pants. And then I talk to this person later and they go, oh, I love these things. They're more protective. They're more comfortable. It only cost me, $150 and they're great. And so then it's like, all right, then you learned, more than one thing, and including the fact that there's a lot of options for riding gear that aren't terribly expensive.
The thing is, if I can jump in, there's a whole, even specifically with track specific gear, there's a whole world of used stuff out there. You can get a pretty nice full tracksuit for, for sometimes $100 or maybe $100. That's too big, too small or whatever.
Yeah.
Boots, gloves, all the gear is out there. The only thing you really probably have to skip on is a helmet. But you can get used shared gear. Tony's website. There's a Track Day Junkie stuff on Facebook. There's lots of ways to get there that aren't that expensive. And I came from the camper. I just did touring. I never thought I was gonna ride on a track, let alone race. I had vintage bikes. I did touring. I went overseas and stuff like that. I had a dirt bike, and somebody finally said, "Let's go to a track day." And I put some street tires on the dirt bike, and once was enough. That was it. And that was maybe 6 years ago. And I went into it whole hog. It's probably not how everybody does it, but once it bites you get into it, and it doesn't have to be expensive to start out.
Yeah, I mean, my usual gloves are leather gloves, and the only difference is how warm it is out, whether they're thicker leather gloves or not.
Right. I mean, so with the track, they make you wear gauntlet gloves. It's got to go over the wrist, but that's a good idea anyway. Like Ken said, most of this stuff makes sense for street riding anyway, with the exception of maybe putting on your one-piece tracksuit. That some people go for that, but maybe not. I got a stitch.
Keep an eye out for your helmet dates, though. I think that's the one thing that can really catch people up, is that if your helmet doesn't have, I'm not sure what the latest ratings are, but the date is something that can really catch people if it's out of date or is not the proper Snell rating of whomever is putting on the event. I think that's the one thing that you don't want to have to scramble for, is suddenly having to buy a, $400 or $500 helmet, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, less than that you can get. But
Well, Tony's track days, especially for the non-sport bike day, a DOT helmet is fine, as long as it's full coverage.
right.
That's for us. But
That's good.
right, that for
That's
most track organizations, they're going to want a higher than DOT. Dave, you just mentioned that you have all the gear that you need to do a track day, a non-sport bike track day, including your engineer boots. We would allow that. You're all set.
To plug Tony's track days, there is one fella that we have met when we were traveling that comes up from Georgia, Ron.
Oh, Allsted.
Ron.
Yes,
Last
on
name
the Nikon.
starts with an A. Ron Allsted.
Yeah.
I mean, he values the Tony's track days so much that he comes up from Georgia to attend them, and he's done track days at other places. But he just enjoys, I think he's gone out to California. He likes the Tony's track days. He finds the value of them.
Okay. And then meanwhile, between the pandemic and I can look for, better gloves, etc.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, what do you have for gloves now? Do you have gauntlet gloves?
Those gauntlet gloves have to be
Enough said.
30 years old, 30,
Yeah.
40 years old, maybe.
They're classics.
I bought one pair in my life that I've worn, I don't know how many times, but they're
So,
not even hard leather.
okay,
Knights
so,
of the Round Table gauntlet gloves.
That
so
works.
now, do you know what the danger of riding in gloves, protection-wise, gloves that are that old are?
They
you
probably
can-
shred as soon as they touch the ground.
pretty much, and it's going to be the stitching.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to come apart. Race gloves that have been used for 3 years are known to come apart in a crash because just the sweat and everything that deteriorates the thread. So,
Hence my hesitation in admitting what I have.
Yeah, you're a sport. Appreciate it.
It was like the other gentleman there said, you spend so much money on a bike, but you don't spend the money on yourself.
Yeah.
But, your money goes so far, and it's irrational. I mean, I'm glad he made that point, because it's an excellent point that just, as many times as I've heard it, when he said it, it just made a lot more sense.
Good. Remember, there's sort of a hierarchy of what you should spend your money on. You're going to buy a bike, so that's the first thing. You're going to do that. Make sure it's maintained, including good tires. It's got to be riding gear, and then your training needs to be right with it. Okay, so the training could go before the riding gear, but actually it can't, because any training course is going to require you to have at least some level of riding gear. You're a real candidate for stepping it up, because you got grandkids and you got kids, and it matters that you are safe.